Today I have the one and only Miss Chelsea Abril, who is a dear friend. We've known each other for long time. Like I want to say 2016 was when we first met. And it was through the
Long
wedding
time.
industry.
Hmm.
But this woman is fabulous in all ways. And she has since transformed from not only a wedding photographer, but also to a coach now. And she helps business owners all across the nation, which is really cool. And she's personally helped me, I mean, really through the pandemic when I was going through a lot of things, when I was going from 3 to 4 businesses and then starting real estate and the whole thing, and we were crazy people, and really just help provide perspective and like tangible takeaways to make the needle move. And just really good, I think, in taking me from the panic and the overwhelm that I was in to being like, hold on, you are all these things that you don't think you are, but you really are. So I'm excited to dive into the episode. Chelsea, thanks for being here.
Oh my God, that's like the most beautiful edification and intro. Thank you. I feel like I can say all of that like right back at you. And like, I'm so grateful to be here. 2024, I swear, is the year of like having a community and being surrounded by like litty titty women who are doing it, who are making big moves and like taking up big space in the world. So I love you. Thank you for letting me be on here. I'm going to say something that's so hilarious. My last name is pronounced Abril.
Oh, thanks.
I put that in an email and I was like, I don't really care, but I feel like Marina will just die if I don't tell her.
Yes, thank you. I've been saying it wrong this whole time.
It's never bothered me. I'm like, I feel like she'll be like, why didn't you tell me? And so anyway, I'm telling you now. Doesn't matter, but amazing. Great. Chelsea Abril.
Oh, and I forgot to mention our husbands were coasties. We also have that in common.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
We
But now
coasty
you live in
boys.
Seattle, and
I
most
do.
is hybrid, or you do in-person stuff too, right? You do like your booty stuff.
Yes. So I would say even now, like the bulk of my expansion and like diversification in my business happened like at the end of 2019. And
Mhm.
so I built it almost entirely virtually. And now occasionally I'm loath to go back to being and hosting in-person things. Like it's so much more accessible and easy virtually. And I can then speak to people across the nation and wherever on different time zones. I do some of the Booty in My Flow classes in person, which I do love. And I do have in-person retreats for a lot of my private one-to-one clients. So we go off and we spend a weekend together once or twice a year. We do all their big building dreams, goals. We do booty classes there too. So I would say like 98% of my offer suite is all virtual. And then all of my photography obviously is in person.
Yes, absolutely. And you travel quite a bit, which is fun to watch. And you're just a gem to watch on social media. I feel like you do a good job of being authentically you, no matter what other people think. Like you're just like you really niche down to like who it is you are and who you want to be online. And I think it's the same person in real person. So you do a great job with that. Keep it
Thank you.
all the things purple all the time. We feel it.
Purple everywhere. Very on brand. Yes.
Yeah, but I wanted to kind of dive into this world of coaching. So I feel like since, I mean, pretty much when you started, even before, it got more and more popular, and everyone was doing courses and like all this. It's still a thing. It's like part of the
Yes.
personal brand journey, right? Is like,
Yeah.
okay, we mastered a thing. Now we got to teach it. Now we coach it.
Yeah.
How did you get into that? And you don't just coach photographers, you coach
Yeah.
everyone. So talk to me about
Mhm.
that for me.
So I feel like the transition happens, like I've been in, we've both been in the wedding photography game for ages. I feel like we had, not necessarily peaked, but we'd gotten to enough of like success, like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing and I can answer questions like without really, I could teach someone this in my sleep. Like it's just information that I know. And so towards like in 2019, I had started to be asked, I was getting more DMs, people were asking more things. I never felt like I was ready to do it. And I was also in a different like education group where that evolution wasn't particularly fostered,
Mhm.
that we should all go off and do it on our own, but we should keep learning. So I learned a lot in that community, but it didn't really foster that, oh yeah, you can do it too sort of mentality. So I didn't for a while. I just kind of answered things here and there. I spoke on a stage in January of 2020. And that was like, okay, I know my shit. I really do. And I am ready to do this. And so I started offering mentorship. I did my first round of coaching. I think I had like 6 people and it was like $300 or $500 for a month or something. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, let's do it and ask me all the questions. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Like, fuck it, let's go. And then the pandemic happened immediately. Once all those contracts were signed, the pandemic immediately happened. They were all wedding photographers who wanted to basically hire me for mentorship, not as much for coaching.
Yeah.
And it was a really interesting, like, oh shit. So I let most of those clients go. Some of them stayed with me just to kind of roll with the punches. I was very living on the positive cloud when that all went down. And so we rode that for as long as we could.
Yep.
And then I realized halfway through, I was like, I actually don't know what I'm doing. I had my own crisis. I think a lot of us had our own little crisis, mid 2020. And that's when I hired my first coach. And I had never really thought of coaching as anything but mentorship. I didn't know that coaching was different from mentorship. I didn't know consulting was different from coaching or mentorship. And so getting my first coach, I was like, holy tits, this is amazing. Like, it's like I'm not a licensed therapist, but it's adjacent to like being a business therapist. Like, all right, so let's talk to the entrepreneur you, and what do you want? And being a coach means asking good questions and not necessarily coming in and saving your business or anything, but letting you save it. So guiding you to your own right answers and asking the questions that get you to what you're really trying to get through on your own. So it's really nice having that. And I had that, and I was like, wait, this is actually what I want to do. I want to help people with their mindset. Like, I want to, help us brown girlies. I want to know that we can all do it. And I didn't have those kind of mentors when I was growing up. So they all kind of coalesced into this idea. I got chosen for this like really exclusive apprenticeship, and I did a 14-month apprenticeship specifically to become a master coach. So I'm certified in a bunch of different modalities now. And I was like, yes, this is the thing. And it's so expansive. And I think you and I can vibe on that too, is I loved photography, but I was getting bored, and it was like affecting my creativity and my craft. And I was just like, do I just keep doing it? Like, you raise your prices and do more, and then you raise your prices and do less. And like, is that just what we do? I'm bored. I don't know if I want to do this forever, but I still love it, but I have to do something else or I'm going to burn it down. Like, I'm a kid with matches. I've got to have something else to do. So being able to like diversify and add that in and like getting so much fulfillment from it. Yeah. I don't remember what your original question was, but that was kind of my transition. It began as a mentorship. It felt like a natural course, like, the natural course of action. Oh, you graduate from high school and you go to college. And that was kind of like, you master your craft and then you teach other people about your craft. And it's really just expanded in a fun and different way that I don't think I anticipated. I didn't know that I would be doing this. It felt like something that other people did. I never quite believed that I could be a person who did it. I didn't have a ton of self-confidence in general. I liked to, I had social media confidence, but not like actually embodied confidence.
No one can tell the difference.
Amazing. I see it. I'm like, it's great. It's a great lie. I'm going to keep it up forever. And then I was like, I can't, I'm freaking out. So I love it. Thank you from the outside looking in. And now I feel more of that like embodied confidence. Like, no, I know what I'm doing. I know that I do an incredible job. And it's so cool to be able to do it in this way. And speaking to what you were saying about like, oh, there's coaches everywhere, and I had that scarcity mindset going into it. And that's why I didn't do it for such a long time. I was like, well, who's going to want to learn from me? Like, whatever, I shake my boobies around and I'm kind of fun and I've got fun energy, but like, do I actually know what I'm talking about? I don't know. And getting over that was like, okay, well, there are some people who want to learn from this I had pink hair back then, purple-haired girl who like shakes her boobies and like dances around and is fun. And there's some people who would rather, melon ball their eyes out than learn from someone like that. But like, okay, I can speak to those people who, want to be with someone who's magnetic and confident on whatever it is that people think that I am. So I can speak to those people and I can just mind my fucking business and stay in my lane and keep doing the thing, whether it's, social media confidence or the real deep embodied confidence. I can do that. And so it took a minute to come back to that. And we've talked about this a little bit separately, but even though I had all these years of experience of building a business and managing clients and showing up online, the moment I just painted entrepreneurship a different color, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before. This is totally, oh my God, I have no feet to stand on. Like, no one's gonna, whatever. I had this whole crisis. And I'm like, okay, I just painted it a different color. It's the same car. It's just a little bit different, so I realized.
Normalize that, because that is life. That is growing. So I'm literally going through it with this podcast. I'm like, I am. I don't know how to talk to a camera, like, blah. And you're just like, you totally mind F yourself to think that you don't know what you're doing, but we really do. And it's really going to be
Yeah.
okay. Even if it's not, it's still going to be okay. But I think that's such a good reminder is like you can be at the top of your career, you can be doing
Yeah.
some really cool ass shit and still think that you're not enough or you don't know what you're doing, like that imposter syndrome. How do
I
you
would love
do that?
nothing more than to just say, you know what? If you work through it enough, it just goes away and you can check it off your list. I would love nothing more than to make that promise, but that's just not the way it works. Like there's so many different ways you can approach it and like ways you can adjust your thinking and work with your subconscious mind and all these different things, but it's still
Mhm.
that was, I think, the lie that was sold to me. And I don't even know if it was sold to me or I made it up and I signed my name on it. But I was like, oh, I should be able to just bing, check this off my list, right? You know, I'll work on it, I'll focus on it for a while and I'll
Yeah.
get my gold star and it should be over. I can move on. Imagine my surprise when it came back 6 months later and came back in force when I painted entrepreneurship purple instead of pink. And I think that's a good thing to just remember. Like I work with a lot of people like you who are already really successful, who are like top of their game, like big names in their industries and who paint entrepreneurship a different color, want to diversify, are multi-passionate and want like, I want to capitalize on that. I want to live a really creative, fulfilling life. And then all these things that they stopped working through or didn't need to work through anymore on this side now come over to the other side and they're like, what the hell is happening? I thought I was like, I hear that so much. I thought I was done with this. I don't know why I'm still thinking about, I don't know why this is still a problem. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. We got lots to talk about.
Yeah.
And there's so much to unpack there and like weave it all back in together. Also, I feel like there will be so much bleeping in this episode. So listeners, thank you for
No bleeping. It's
however
just
this
real
gets
life.
chopped up.
You are you. We're not trying to change you. It's good. But one of the things you mentioned was just the difference between coaching, mentoring. What was the other thing? Consulting.
Yes. Consulting.
Can you walk us through that again? Because I think the average business owner doesn't know the difference between the two, or
Yeah.
they're just like, oh, another person telling me what to do. Like, what is the difference?
They'll pay me and they'll answer my questions.
Yeah.
Great. Or vice versa, right? That was the most, like one of the most profound things for me to learn. And because I was just like, oh, you know, coming from like a service provider background as a photographer, I have this service and you pay me for it. And I can call myself, you know, a picture ninja, but I'm still just a service provider and you pay me and you get the deliverable. So how I learned it is coaching is questions. And a good coach asks great questions and a coach will come in and it is kind of like that business therapist adjacent where it's not us coming to tell you how to live your life. It's us guiding you through your own thoughts. And so many people that I work with like are really overwhelmed because there's so much going on in their head. Like there's just like thoughts and ideas and worries and ambitions and goals. There's like so much noise that a really good coach can come in and ask the right questions so that slowly, gently, we start to peel them away and organize them. And then the fog clears. Like that's the magic of a great coach is asking the right questions to get you to your own right answer. Yes. Whereas a mentor, if I wanted to come and learn real estate, I would hire you as a mentor because you've obviously nailed it as a real estate mogul in Hawaii. So you would teach me. And if anyone's hiring a mentor, they are teaching you what they have done. They are teaching from experience. So a mentor will teach exactly what they did and what they know from their experience. Versus now a consultant, this is where mentorship and consulting get a little mixed up. Consulting is coming in and saying, here's what we're doing. It's like a strategist and a consultant are, in my mind, kind of the same thing. Here's what we're doing. I've looked at what you're doing. I've looked at what you have. I looked at where you're at. You want to get from point A to point B? Great. Here's how you would do it, whether it's based on their own experience or not. So a consultant can come in and use their consulting brain to give the same deliverable and experience to a coach or a real estate company or a used car dealership. Yeah. The consulting has said, here's what you do. Here's the game plan. Go. So they can speak on things that they maybe don't have personal experience with, but they're applying the general principles for the roadmap. So yes, that was like amazing to me. I was like, well, what am I? And then people get all in their heads if they're transitioning to this economy is, well, am I a coach? Am I a mentor? Am I a consultant? Oh my God, I don't know. What do I call myself? And I would say maybe less people ask themselves that and more just assume that they are the one thing. Yeah. And I would say that some of the best people that I've worked with end up kind of wearing a lot of the different hats. So what I love to see is like a lot of strategists are like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to roadmap you. And then there's coaches or people who are just doing mindset, like, okay, let's dream, let's have a vision. And what I know from my experience in the hill that I will die on, and why I coach the way that I do, is because vision is amazing, but it only goes so far if you don't have action. And action is great, but it'll eventually rubber band you back if you don't have any vision or alignment. So finding like where all these things intersect, which I know you know deep in your body, it's nice to see them all put together. And a lot of people do a really good job at that. And some people are better just wearing the one hat.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to consider.
And this wasn't even one of my interview questions for you, but like if someone is interviewing coaches, what do they need to ask? Like, how do they basically sort through the 100 that are pitching them or they discover online? Like, how do they find true alignment with the coach? What are they looking for?
One thing that I like, it's a kind of a, there's a couple different parts to that. Is one, what I've noticed for me is that a lot of people don't actually know what they're looking for. And that can be where it's really overwhelming to find someone. So I would say, rarely are you searching like business coach near me. Like, you're not usually searching for coaches the same way you might search for a photographer or a real estate agent. A lot of what I've found, and this is how all of my businesses have kind of run, is my referrals are all very relational. So I kind of, expand that way. And so it's built on a lot of trust, because a lot of times, especially really good coaches aren't, $4. We're usually in the hundreds to thousands of dollars per month. And it's a higher investment that requires a little bit of trust and a little bit of knowing that. So I'm a big fan. Rarely do I find someone totally cold turkey who wants to go book my highest package. And they're like, okay, well, who are you? Like, what is she about? So my business really does operate on vibes. And that's kind of the way that I like to vet people myself. It's the way a lot of my clients vet me, is going through, like, let's go watch their videos. Let's go look at testimonials. Let's go look at client proof, and let's see if their values align with mine. I had a great conversation the other day with someone who teaches messaging, and it was like, okay, you need to know what your values are to see if their values are the same, and vice versa. So as even hiring or bringing on a client as a coach, I also need to make sure that those values align with mine. There has to be some compatibility in the middle. And usually they're pretty glaring as soon as they're like, oh, I see that we're going to have to manage this expectation, or just like, let me check in, because this is this and that is that. But going through and checking the vibe like this, ideally, and this is, I'll speak for myself because I know a lot of people run their businesses very differently. I work very closely with my clients. I want to have a deep, connected relationship with them. They're trusting me with their money. They're trusting me with a lot of their like private things. Like, a lot of high achievers are hiring a coach like me because there's a lot of private things that you don't necessarily want to go like, oh, let me just go ask Instagram and see what they think about this crisis that I'm having. Or like, and also it's potentially, this is somewhat of a limiting belief, but it can be unsafe to go and ask the general public, or even, other entrepreneur groups, like, hey, I have this big innovative idea, like, there's a non-compete, there's an NDA in the way that I coach. And so I'm not going to go like, oh, good idea, and like steal it. Like, that's a very much a limiting mindset, but there's so much safety in being able to have a dedicated coach. My coach calls herself a trusted mentor, and I love that. Such a good, nice thing. Yeah. Like, so you want to be with someone you can trust, who's going to mentor you, who has your best interest in mind. Are they teaching with the kind of modalities that you believe in? If you have no interest in any of the woo-woo stuff, go find someone who's maybe more pragmatic. If you are like, I'm kind of interested, but like, I want to make sure I'm grounded and not off in la la land, find someone who's grounded, who like razzle dazzles you a little bit, but maybe doesn't, take you off into the woods. Like, there's so many different kinds. There's no wrong way for people to be doing this. And it's really interesting to just vet. And I would say this too, and I hate to say this, but hiring mentors and coaches is also kind of a trial and error.
Yeah.
We're all in a marketing age, and a lot of us can market really well. And I've had some bad experiences with people that I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. This is going to be the best thing ever. So part of that is like managing your expectations, also knowing that it's an equal partnership. So just as much as I'm willing to coach someone, you also have to be willing to do what we've talked about and do what we've asked. Like, if you are upset that you haven't gotten the result, have you taken all the steps? Have you followed through in the way that we talked about? So there's some of those agreements and things that go into it too. And sometimes coaching's not for everybody. The type of coaching that I do is like, okay, we've got to be ready to go. I don't want to just take your money and have you spinning your wheels. That's not fun for anybody. I want to make sure that like Yeah, it doesn't have to be like huge life-changing adjustments
Yeah.
either. Like not everyone's trying to sprint and not everyone's trying to walk. And so together with like a good coach, you can find the right relationship. So it's a lot about just checking the vibe. My
Yeah.
consultants had a vibe check, and I think that's really important. And I work with people who are woo-woo adjacent usually. And so we're learning how to trust our gut. We're learning how to follow our intuition. If someone gives you an ick, probably trust that you got an ick.
Yep.
Why are you getting this ick and where is it from? Okay. A lot of those check-ins there. So check the vibe, trust the vibe, and then go consume their content and imagine like, oh, would I like to be, oh, actually, oh my God, she took the words right out of my mouth. Again, a lot of this is good marketing, but trust your gut.
Yeah.
Go do free consults. Like go check in with people. Not everyone does consults. So go talk in their DMs, go get some of their free resources or buy something that's low ticket and see if it's
Yeah.
delivered the way that you like. So I think there's a lot of trial and error in it.
Yeah.
And it is your hard-earned money, your beautiful money. So
It's a big investment.
invest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big investment. It's like no joke. I spend thousands of dollars on my coach every month, and I'm like, I wouldn't spend this normally. This is also a new paradigm at all to be investing thousands of dollars in my
Yes.
trusted mentor. But I'm
Yeah.
like, I also can't imagine not having her.
Yeah.
So great. This is just how I live
Everybody
now.
needs a coach in some capacity, but it's only
Yeah.
if you want to grow. Don't hire anybody if you're not trying to grow. Number one, like be willing
Yeah.
to be comfortable. I think that's one thing you were really good at is like you would push me to a comfortable, uncomfortable. It's like, it's because you could also see the potential in me. I think that was a big part of it is like, you knew I was capable of things. You knew I had this vision. I was absolutely willing to do it. I was just scared and in my head. And like everybody, anytime we have a new idea, we're like, oh, what's everybody think of me here? Blah, blah, blah. But so much of it is the accountability. And so I am like the world's worst procrastinator, and I would do things the night before our calls or with my other.
Why we're so attracted to each other.
But it got done. Shit got done. And then eventually it moved the needle. So I think when I was first coaching with you, we were just launching YouTube, right? I think that's what it was.
Oh my God. And look at you now.
I know. And then we fast forward here, work together again for a second. And it's always at like these pivotal turning moments where I totally question my whole existence. And I'm like, help me back to my center. But it's because I haven't changed as a person. Like my core values haven't changed, but I'll get off this track going down hustle culture's like influence and everyone else telling me I need to do all these things. And you're like, no. So let's talk about
like, wait a second. Whoa, come back.
But I
don't think that's my favorite thing.
I'll be like 20 minutes of listen to all these great ideas, Chelsea. And you're like,
Let's check in with our values.
Talk to me about your experience with hustle culture. So you came to the same era I went through, 2010, 20. It was the girl boss era. Tell me about your experience and then how you kind of got to where you are today with work-life balance. What does that look like for you? Like, fill me in.
I feel like I was living on the sun. I just like moved there and I was like frying at all hours of the day. Just lived on the sun. I moved there. And then, so what's even funny with that is I felt really burnt out, but I was also like, put it in me, give me the IV, like, let's work hard. Who needs to sleep? Like, I think I booked like, I think 60 weddings one year. And I was like, on what fucking planet? But I was like, what? I think that was the year I made like my first like multiple six figures. And I was like, oh my God, girl boss. And I was like, I want to die. I'm so tired. And oh my God, things are falling through the cracks. Like the busier I got, like the more disorganized I became, the more like frantic my thoughts became. And I think that's not, a unique experience for a lot of people who get really busy, but it just sucked. I was like, okay, so I did it, I felt really good. I was, more or less doubling my income every year, or like at least, improving on it quite a bit. And then when I hit my first like 200K, I was like, I had a panic attack. I was like, do I have to do this again next year? This sucked. I didn't like this at all. I feel like my marriage is going to fall apart at any moment. I don't like myself. I'm like losing weight, but I feel terrible about myself. Like everything was just awful except for what social media and like my data analytics told me. I was like, you should feel better. And then there's that whole imposter syndrome and like guilt tripping of like, why are you crying? You have money and you did it. And you have social media and blah, blah, blah. You asked for this. And I was like, oh my God. And oh my God, like what a mind trip to go through that. And again, COVID was awful, but there was a lot of like really beneficial things that happened when COVID happened and the world shut down. That was the first time I feel like in my adult life and in my entrepreneurial journey that I actually slowed down, that I was in my, house my dream condo that I bought in Seattle for more than 3 weeks. That was the first time I'd been in Seattle and still for longer than 3 weeks in like years. And I was like, I have to stay here. I'm freaking out. So it was a lot of like, that was like hustle culture, go, 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 do, do, do. What's the next cool thing? What's the next fun thing? Like whatever. And all I had on my mind was scaling bigger, more, without any frame, any reflection back of like, well, do I actually want this or does it just look really cool?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to be running in these circles or not? Like, do their values, a value, what's that? So many people are like, I don't know, like, what are my values? I do a lot of training on values and helping people come back to their values and living values driven and values based lives and building things that way. And I had never really thought about it. And then the first time I did a values exercise, I picked a lot of really pretty ones that sounded nice. And I was like, isn't this good? Is anyone going to give me my gold star? Look at how nice my values are. Yeah. And even that was like this hustle culture of like, well, her values, those don't even sound good. Like, oh my God.
Nothing's good enough.
So nothing's good enough. Like maybe I should be, oh, well, I'm not a philanthropist. So maybe I'm just a piece of shit. Like, okay, no, we can all have different values, but it was interesting to see how much had woven into it. So like this judgment, this endless competition, especially with myself, that nothing I did was ever good enough. I could never relax. Like I was going to bed and like waking up in the middle of the night. Like I was always panicking. I was like, did I forget something? Like that's how my life felt. It was just like, I feel like there's something that I'm missing and there's something that I need to do. And even when I did catch up, I was like, there's got to be something I missed. I shouldn't have a Saturday. What's a Saturday? I should be working. I should be out. I'm at home. I should just have a panic attack all day then. Because what am I doing here? I don't know what I'm doing. Something's wrong. So that was really wild. And I still wrote that through. I did the best I could. And that was part of why I like came into coaching too. Was like, this cannot be it. This cannot be the peak. Like you just keep doing it over and over again. No, if this is it, then I don't want this. I want something else. I'll go figure it out. But I know that this isn't it. Yeah. I don't care how much money I make. If I am exhausted and I hate myself, it's not worth it. So I'm out. Like this, there has to be something else. So I focused on that in my coaching, like, how do we find balance? Okay, what do we want to do? And then when I got more of my coaching and more of my apprentice time, and I've learned more about really being like a deeper, more embodied coach, like coming back to finding a balance with hustle. Because for me, my last year, let me tell you something, 2023 was not at all the year that I had planned or forecasted or anything. 2023 was a fluke year. And it was so weird. And it was really, really, it was almost more exhausting doing so much less. Yeah. And in retrospect, I had the best year ever. Like I had so much fun. I still made great money. I spent a summer in Seattle doing weekend stuff for the first time ever. Again, I was like, you guys just do this? You guys can just like go on and at a whim Saturday? That's fucking nuts. People are just out here living on the weekends. Amazing. Yeah. And so that was very validating and like, okay, cool. But I swung my pendulum so far into flow that I wasn't doing anything. And at the end of 2022, I was like, I'm tired again. I don't really want to build anything. I don't want to launch a bunch of stuff next year. I still did, of course. But I was like, I'm not trying to like 10x my life next year. I just kind of want to maintain this and relax. And I said that in December. And then every year, so old hustle culture, every month I was like, okay, let me just rest for one more week and then I'll get back to it. Then I'll, 10x my life. And then I'll really go for it. And I'll really do all the things that I set on my intentions. And I'm like, every week went by, every month went by, and I was like, I don't want to. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, but it didn't feel like I was like, well, I'm a business coach. Shouldn't be like a multi-million-dollar person at this point. Like, who's ever going to hire me again if I'm not like launching and constantly like evolving and being a better person? Like, I'm tired listening to you guys. That's just, what if we existed? And what if that was okay too? So even that was such a great learning to like examine that. And then I was on the hustle hate train for a minute. And I was like, hustle, blah, blah, blah. Even though I knew that I liked hustle, this is a fun like parallel with your subconscious mind. all I was saying and all I was saying was like, I don't want to hustle. I don't want to hustle. I don't want to hustle. What I meant in my conscious mind was like, I don't want a toxic hustle. Like, I don't want to just like grind my ass off without any consideration for like the way I want to live my life.
Yeah.
But all my subconscious was like, all right, no hustle. Let's chill out, baby. Let's foot off the gas. Let's turn the car off.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. So coming now, I'm like, all right, I'm a long history of the pendulum swinging all the way one way and all the way the other, just kind of like the mosquitoes and like going past the middle. And I'm like, all right, this year is my year of discipline. I love to work. I do really enjoy it. And like, are we allowed to say that we enjoy hustling and enjoy working? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. Of course, right? So like, I love this. Like, I do love creating my things. And if I can, you know, take away, release, work through these old thoughts that are just kind of cutting me off at the knees, then yes, like all of my little motto is like, your life, your success, your way, period. And there's a way to make that happen always. No matter what, there's a way to have all of those three things intersect so you can create a life that you like, that's not someone else's because they said this is how you do it and you follow their 10 steps and you're like, wait, this is not the mountain I wanted to climb. What the hell? I have to go all the way back now. So building those together and just dismantling what toxic hustle culture did and how I have accidentally in my own subconscious and in my own beliefs said that all hustle was bad. So there was no defining factor that hustle's like, oh, well, you like this hustle, but not that hustle. It's like, no, just all hustle.
Yeah.
So anyway, coming back to that, if anyone has felt that full switch, because I saw that a lot in my clients, I saw that a lot in other creators, is everyone worked their ass off and they get really burnt out and then they're like, bye, moving to the woods. I'm gonna homestead and have chickens, and I'm never calling anyone back. I'm gonna throw my phone out the window and I'm gonna bury it in my garden. Like, fuck all of you. Don't call me. I don't exist anymore. And so I saw so much of that. And it's, you know, when you're really burnt out and really tired and you have all of this like mental load, that you're like, it'd be so nice to just pick up shit outside and walk my dog and like
The leaves.
yeah, pick up eggs. Like, you know, my God, wouldn't that be nice? And it's just this fantasy. And
Yeah.
I think we all know, I think you might also feel this too, like no matter where you go, there you are. So like the same issues that you have in the city with your big life or your multi-passion, your 10 businesses is the same thing you'll have if you don't address them. And, you know, when you go to your farm, I'm sure you'll have 100 chickens of every possible breed that are really hard to take care of.
We have 60 ducks right now in Lula.
Oh my God. I love that we're talking farm life with you. So I'm like, I bet she has 60 chickens, 60 ducks. Amazing.
I want to get chickens. No, but I think for me, like going through the winter break, I took a really good, like not complete social media detox, but I didn't post anything other than like check-in stories. Like it wasn't about pushing business at all. And it's like, how can we redefine hustle to a healthy version? And for me right now, that looks like 4 hours a day. How can I create that story on 4 hours a day that allows me to have an hour at the gym, an hour to get ready, an hour lunch, and then pick up kids by 4?
God.
Like,
I love that you said that.
Yeah, it's possible. It's totally doable.
Yes. Even my old hustle culture comes up because there's, you know, on Wednesday nights, there are 2 back-to-back yoga classes at my studio that I really love. And I was like, well, I have to choose one. I can't be there for 3 hours. I'm like, why not? Who fucking said? It's like 7 p.m. Of course I could be here. I could be here for 5 hours if I really wanted to. But even that's like, well, I shouldn't spend that much time working out, or I shouldn't spend that much time. Oh my God, that massage is going to be an hour. Okay, well, it's an hour out of my day. I'm like, oh, hilarious. It's funny noticing how sneaky they are. And they'll come up when you're like least expecting it. And you're like, no, I could take a whole day to take yoga classes if I wanted to, because this is my business and I can make adjustments. And yeah, how do we prioritize? I think even that, especially I see when people transition, I would say our generation has transitioned from like 9 to 5. That's what you do. You go, you work for corporate, you get a good job, a stable job, you work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That is the expectation. And so when a lot of people come into entrepreneurship, sure, there's a lot of phases where we do kind of need to work a little longer and we kind of burn the midnight oil because there's a lot of stuff that we really are excited about.
Yeah.
But eventually there comes a point where like, okay, as I feel like as a seasoned entrepreneur, now we're like, okay, we've experienced every level of this hustle or non-hustle. And now here's what I like. So some people want to work 4 hours a week. Some people want to work 1 10-hour day and then be off the rest of it. And that's, again, the same thing. Like there's no wrong way to do it. Some people want to grind for 4 months and take the rest of the 8 off.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I think that's one of my favorite things too, like with coaching is like, there's it's so interesting to see how sneaky, again, it's very sneaky, like how boxed in a lot of people's thinking is. So when we're doing, I can do a lot of goal setting with my clients and like vision casting and like, let's manifest, but also build the action plan that gets you on the manifestation train. And it's wild what sounds like regurgitated or what, or I'm like, okay, is that really what you want? And they're like, well, no one's ever asked me that.
Mhm.
I don't know. Hold on.
Yeah, we don't
I
even.
want ducks. I don't want chickens. I want ducks. Everyone gets chickens though.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Well, it is. And so I think yeah, we are in this shift. Like we're going from this another, it's not an industrialization shift, it's a technology shift and this hybrid lifestyle shift that we're in for the last 3 years. And I think it's going to continue. People want autonomy. They
Yeah.
want freedom of choice, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately. But what I'm seeing now, especially with Gen Z, is like they are wanting everything to be perfect for them to start. They want the career done, the money made, whatever, before they get married, before they have the kids. And now, like literally, we're not having enough babies in America
Yeah.
or in the world. I think we're like down on population decline. But it's scandalous times, right? Like it's scary out there. So
Yeah.
do you see a shift in entrepreneurs? Like, do you coach any younger people? Like, what are some of the thoughts that they're having? Have you heard any?
That's interesting. I feel like I have a lot of the VAs that come into my space are younger. There's, you
Mhm.
know, the big VA boom of the pandemic. Everyone wanted, oh, I can work from home. Let me monetize my skills. Great, amazing. So I have a lot of those. I feel like newer entrepreneurs are often younger, but also I would say maybe because this is just my demographic and the people that I attract, I work with a lot of millennial age. I work mostly with like millennial age people. Occasionally I'll get people who are like Gen Z adjacent, but not anyone who's like full Gen Z. And I think that's part of it too. And again, maybe this is just not my realm, but I feel like Gen Z is real woke. And so a lot of what I teach, like they are already like, oh, we've already talked about manifestation and like get your vibe right and get your energy. Like, Gen Z is very like woo woo and like then let's do it and let's. I love that about Gen Z. They're like, we're gonna do it and we're gonna do it better than you fucking weirdos who like burnt out and went all crazy. Okay, like you didn't have to do that, so we're gonna do it this way. I'm like, amazing, go do it. My demographic, I feel like, is mostly millennials who already, I think because I work with a lot of people who have already established themselves, they're usually a little bit older, usually like, you know, mid 20s to early 40s. Who are then like, okay, I lived this life of I'm doing one thing and I have to niche down. And that's what you do, right? You burn all your other bridges. So then you're serious, whatever you are. I'm gonna gouge my eyes out. Can you help me do something else? I want to be fulfilled and I want to feel creative and excited. And I don't. Everything else looks fine again, like on social media and my metrics and my, you know, bank account, yes or no, but I don't feel great. And maybe there's something else. So I
Mhm.
feel like I'll eventually work with Gen Zs once they've kind of crested. But I
Yeah.
don't work with a ton of Gen Zs. I think my youngest client right now, she's 25. So I
I
think
would
that's
consider
almost Gen
that Gen
Z,
Z.
right?
Yeah, that's Gen Z.
Okay.
I think millennials
Anyway,
28
she's,
now.
yeah.
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 But it's interesting. I have a couple agents that are in that age range. They're like 23, 24, and just they're wanting it all right now, but then they're also like willing to sacrifice their personal life to get it. Whereas like millennials are
Yeah.
like, oh, I have babies at 22. I got a timeline. It was just very different. That was
Yeah.
me. It was like, get married, have the baby, like we're gonna do it all, and I did it all. But yeah, no, it's just
Yeah.
time. Like, what do I really want? What really feels good? That'll
Mhm.
be the next chapter.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to ask you too. You've always got a good finger on social media, on TikTok, on what's happening out there with the world. What do you feel
That's
like?
so flattering.
No, it's good. Like you're in the know. Whereas I feel like, okay, here we go. You've got
I feel
it.
the same way about you. So
Oh,
let's
stop.
just mirrors here. I'm like, okay, what is Marina? Marina knows what she's doing. That's so amazing. This is my favorite thing about perception too. And I think that's just a good reminder for all of us is that I would say there's like a very small percentage where like, I really know the ins and outs of what I'm doing. And a lot of us are just winging it, but like in a good way. Like, I don't think anyone's expected to be an expert in every single
Yeah.
area. Like, and I thought that I had to be, which also kept me from offering or venturing into the coaching sphere at all. Cause like, well, I don't know how, I'm not a marketing expert yet, or I'm not a branding expert. Like I know about these things and I can do them pretty well. I can get people started at least to like proficiency, but I'm not an expert. So anyway, I don't feel like a social media expert at all, but I do love social media. Um, what's going on with the world. I love following trends, and I follow a lot of forecasters. I think they're really interesting. And I love that it's becoming more and more human in like a really good way. Like a lot of it is storytelling. What I what I don't love, that I feel like I've whatever made me finger on the pulse of it, is that I can't turn my brain off now. Every piece of content that I see, I'm like, ooh, good story, ooh, good hook, ooh, nice segue. And I'm like, damn it, I can't even just like enjoy mindless. So I'm like, ooh, yeah, you really tugged on an emotion there. Oh yeah, and that connects. Amazing. I'm like, shut up. Just mindlessly scroll. Like even my mindless scrolling is like not mindless. But anyway, I do love that it's more emotional. And I love that we've moved away from like the really gross selling.
Me too.
This year, I like attended a webinar, and it was someone who was selling this really cool thing. I was like, oh my God, check. That sounds fucking fun. Like 2023 was like my year of like, let's go learn things. Like, let's just go like vibe with people. So I was on a lot of different things and was like, this is fun. I'm enjoying it. And I went into this podcast or this webinar, and I went through a sales funnel. We went to, and it was a guy, which was, unfortunately, red flag number one. Just with the way that I usually end up working with people. And I got the biggest ick sell from him in the grossest way. And I was like, I cannot believe this is happening. And I was also like, I'm not brand new. Like I know what your next question is going to be because you're following my nose. And you're like, I'm telling you as clearly and directly. Anyway, it was just so weird. So part of what I love, and this is like part social and part selling, is I realize I'm like, I'm so fucking pragmatic. Like I don't need a lot of convincing. Like I like to see some data, and I want to, well, maybe I do need convincing, but like I like to see the things that matter. But if I've said no, I do mean no. And I'm okay to be like, if you want to question, like, okay, great. Well, I believe in you and I know it's going to be the right time. There's definitely a balance between like, totally, like check the vibe and let's flow with it, versus like, well, why no? And like, maybe you just don't love yourself, or you're not committed if you don't spend this money right now. And I'm like,
No.
ew, what the hell? And I was just like, I cannot believe this is happening. And I know it's still taught too, but I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
there's a difference between being able to see people as empowered decision-making adults, which we all are. And I have enough respect for my clients to be like, oh, cool. Like, whenever we start to work together, I'm like, hey, are you feeling good? Or are you all set? You're like, I'm complete. I'm like, perfect, great. See you on social. Like, oh my God. Anyway. So I love that it's kind of like that. There's more, like I know we've moved away from pain point marketing, which I still don't, I feel like I don't even understand the difference. I'm like, I do, but like, I still hear you talking about what I'm struggling with. Anyway, whatever. But I appreciate that it's gotten much more human. I do like that we're moving away from influencers. I do feel like a lot of things are being sold right now. Like when I'm on TikTok, I'm like, every other one is an ad. I'm like, I do love the affiliate era that we're in. Like I do like to be sold things that have social proof. Like I'm a big fan of that. Like I'm very influenceable. I'm like, amazing. You love it? Me too. Let me buy it. Add to cart. But I like that things are slightly more vetted now versus before. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, I saw this thing. Like, do you?
Have you used it?
Where is the I thought you said that gave you a massive breakout. Why are you recommending it? Like,
yeah, people would just influence anything, and now it's like, do you really, truly, authentically support something? Yeah. I hope that sticks.
Yeah, exactly.
Storytelling,
me too,
should be good. Mm-hmm. Like, keep it, be real, be you.
Yeah, I'm gonna find out. Again, we are all like capable, empowered, knowledgeable human beings. I would love to be treated as such, and I like to treat my clients that way too. And that's my best, like when I do, like as entrepreneurs, we're mostly showing up on social to sell in some capacity. We're either selling the thing that we like, the hair thing that we used, or the lifestyle we live. Like we're always selling something, even just like, I'm feeling really peaceful with my kids. Great. Selling this life that you are off in the woods in the snow with your kids, even though you're not actively selling a product. And it's such a good reminder. I'm like, I get in my head a lot when I'm starting to like make selling content. And I'm like, I think that's the first red flag. Like, stop making selling content. Just make content and have an awareness of it. Cool. Like, all right, so this is going to nurture people, or this is going to be expanding my audience. Okay, great. And I do know when to ask for a sell. Okay, great at selling. We know when to do that. But also, my mantra this year has been, I'm a good person with good intentions. Period. So even if I get canceled, or someone misunderstands me, or someone thinks what I've done is ick or cringe. Okay, great. I know that I didn't do that intentionally. I know that I'm a good person with good intentions. And that's been like the most grounding thing for me, talking about social media. Even though it's like a really irrational fear, I have like a fear of being canceled. I'm like, what would I ever say? Like, I'm a good person with good intentions. Like, what could I ever say that would be like so awful that someone would do that? Like, consciously, I know that I'm capable of handling anything that came up, and
That's just our
that's
man brain trying to protect you. That's why.
right. I'm like, don't throw me out of the tribe, please. Please, my tribe is awesome. You can stay. So
Yeah.
I feel like if anyone has that fear, that's my favorite mantra. I'm like, okay, if I start to worry, is this going to be misunderstood, or is it right? Is it the right time? Is it perfect? I'm like, okay, I'm a good person with good intentions. I'm doing my best with what I have and with what I know. Send, publish, go.
And one of the things you mentioned is like, do you have the selling filter on, or are you like doing nurturing or whatever? I think that's one thing that hiring you as a coach helps you reshift all the time, because we get down this like road so far, we don't even realize how far we are off on the road. And then you just kind of help like re-navigate us. Like,
Floor is correct. I think that's so important. Like, this is all stuff that you know. Like, I rarely feel like I'm teaching something that's like totally groundbreaking. Like, I'm not inventing brand new things, but I'm like bringing them back into your awareness. Again, the people that I work with are educated and empowered and like they know what they're doing. But if you're stuck in your echo chamber for so long by yourself, you stop having any sort of perspective. So that's what I love doing, is like, okay, well, let's zoom out, or let's zoom in. Like, let's fact check, let's vibe check this. And that's like, I feel like you do this, you do what I do in different capacities for people all the time. Like, we talked about that when we were coaching together. Like, you do all of these things. And so a lot of times, like when I'm working with really high powered, successful, like top of their class people, it's just, you just need a you for you, because you just can't, like, there's no way to have the right or like the best perspective, or any perspective potentially, on yourself when it's just you. And so again, like, as a good coach, is asking the right questions, and like, let's get perspective. Let's check the vibe. Let's have an awareness. And so some of my clients, like, we're not even doing really practical, tactical stuff. Sometimes it's just like, I'm having an epiphany, like whatever. And it's just questions, and they're your answers. Like, that's what I love. Like, asking the right questions, asking good questions to get you to your own right answers, because you already know what you're doing. We just lost a little perspective. And for a little, we took a wrong turn. And how do we get the Google Maps back on?
Which is priceless, worth every single penny.
Priceless. Oh my God. That's how I feel about my coach. I'm like,
consult with you.
Come to me. I would love to help you turn on Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever maps you use.
Just reroute, please. Thank you.
Reroute. That's important too. Like,
go ahead.
Yes. My last thing with that is like direction. So a lot of times, a lot of people are really successful, and they're like, one, don't actually have a good feel on where they are, and don't actually know where they want to go. So it's a lot of this just like driving in circles and, doing donuts in a parking lot, and you're like, I don't know, I'm doing stuff, but I'm not going anywhere.
No, literally, as entrepreneurs, we set a destination that some influencer put for us, not the one that we picked. And then we're like, why are we doing this way?
Why don't I feel good?
No, 100%.
I feel awful. Yes. Okay, let's wrap.
Okay, so quick rapid fire at the end. It's always fun. What's your favorite?
Yes. My favorite Starbucks order? I don't drink coffee.
Do you tea? Anything?
I don't go to Starbucks ever. I haven't gone to Starbucks in years. I drink boba tea protein at home right now. That's my latest kick. It's really good.
Okay. Love it. Yeah. What do you make for dinner if it's last minute and you're in a bind?
Oh, we have Simon. We have Simon, and we add egg, and we add some hot chili oil. And that's like go-to. We're bored. We don't want to do it. Yep.
Okay. Fave go-to department of Target. Do you have one?
I never leave my house. I am a true homebody. If I go to Target though, I like to touch all the pillows. I'm a very tactile shopper. I just touch everything. And if it's soft, I'll look at it. Yeah.
Can we get that on Instagram, please?
Tactile. Is it soft? If it's no, yeah. Everything has to be soft. I'm a very tactile person in general.
Name a book or podcast you'd recommend.
Oh my God, this is so Akatar.
Oh God, yes.
Big fan. That got me out of my reading and my creative slump in 2020. That's like bandwagon, but like, it was a really fun read. If you like fantasy and romance, which I do, big fan. Also, podcast, I really love Manifestation Babe. I've been following her forever, and she's always really fun.
Yeah. For those who don't know what Avatar is, it's a court of thorns and roses. Like, what do you call?
It's
Twilight
smutty
and Harry
fantasy
Potter.
romance. It's great. Yeah. It's very like young adult slash, if you get far enough, it turns into an adult book. So
Yes, absolutely.
readers be warned.
Okay, TikTok or Instagram?
Oh, TikTok. I'm coming around to Instagram though. I had a big Instagram ick for a minute, but now I'm like, all right, I like the recording better on Instagram, but I like the content better on TikTok.
Yeah, same. Where can listeners find you online? Where's the best place?
I'm Chelsea Abril everywhere. So that's CHELSEA, one more A, B as in boy, RIL.com. That's how often I have to spell my name out. So Chelsea Abril everywhere.com. TikTok, it's always my handle, Chelsea Abril.
Mm-hmm. And then what's the best space for people to really dive in and get to know what it is you do, set up the consult call? Should they just DM you, go to your website? What's the best one?
I feel like, again, as we talked about, go check my vibe. Go see if you like me. Listen to this podcast as you are doing right now. Go find me on TikTok and Instagram. I don't always have the same things on both platforms. And then set up a free consult with me. It's 30 minutes. It's a vibe check. We can talk about basically anything. It's not necessarily a coaching call, but check the vibe. Come play. Come have fun. I'm a lot of fun, I think. So I think you should come over. We'll have a great time.
I think she has a lot of great thought-provoking things. That's what's the best thing about you. You really just like shake up the shit and you're like, what's important? So I think everyone can use that in their life. Have a Chelsea in their back pocket. So with that, my dear, wrap. Thank you so much. That was so much fun.
Thank you. Oh my God. What a pleasure to be in your circle. What a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for everything that you do, just for existing. You're incredible.
Love ya.
Mwah.